Good morning, Ms. Cullen.
We will get to the budget in a minute, but I do need to ask you about some of those comments we just heard from Chris d'Entremont, talking about a leadership team where it was more a frat house, he said, than a serious political party, focus on who could be the most negative, tearing things down. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say, look, whenever there's a breakdown in the relationship, I think everybody should be reflective about how we got here. With respect to Chris, I mean, look, I'm disappointed that this is the first time that I personally am hearing these concerns from Chris himself. We have a very open policy in terms of people are bringing forward their concerns or their suggestions about how we can improve as a party at the caucus mic. Unfortunately, I have not heard these concerns yet from Chris before. So I feel sorry that we're in this situation, but I also think, we're only hearing part of the story from Chris. I'm not on the leadership team. I'm not involved, or I was not involved with the circumstances leading to the moment that Chris is talking about. What kinds of, positions or offers were being made to Chris in advance of that to keep him happy and feeling valued as part of the party. And my understanding is that there were a significant number of conversations leading up to the moment that Chris is talking about in terms of making him feel like a valued member of the party. Look, I would consider myself a moderate, middle-of-the-road conservative. I think that's my perception amongst my caucus colleagues. I have felt nothing but welcoming and being valued in the Conservative Party, even including from the leader himself, Mr. Poilievre, asking for my advice on a number of occasions, including helping out with the platform. I think we have a very big tent party. That includes considering a wide, varying degree of perceptions and suggestions. We have a saying, Mr. Poilievre often says, you have your say, but you don't always get your way. But we do have a very open policy and able to discuss concerns that people have, and people bring forward concerns about what they're hearing in their communities about how we can be doing better as a party and providing a better foot forward and solutions for this country, which desperately needs change. We just went through an election where Mr. d'Entremont and a number of other Conservative candidates across this country campaigned and were elected to bring change to Ottawa. So, as I say, I think I'm, disappointed that this is the first time I'm hearing that from Chris.
Let me ask you. Sorry, Mr. Chambers. I do want something else that he said there, though. So there's the negativity, and I take your point that you wish he had raised that more openly earlier. But what he describes after he made the decision, pushing a staff member is what you heard him tell us, raised voices, being called a snake. What's your reaction to what he described there?
Well, look, I was not in the room. Chris was. I think we'll have to allow those other individuals with whom he's making those allegations against an opportunity to discuss those. But I mean, I think in the heat of a moment, you can understand how tensions would be very high when the government is on the precipice of getting a majority, by the way, which it was not afforded at the ballot box. Canadians voted for a minority parliament. They voted for this prime minister's power to be checked by a minority. And the fact that the prime minister, instead of compromising some suggestions on the budget, has decided to try to manufacture a majority by luring or seducing over MPs from different parties. I mean, I think that is, what we're getting at in terms of feeling like a little bit of betrayal. And, the beautiful thing about democracy is that Mr. d'Entremont will, of course, have to answer for his actions in respect of the next election. And the voters will ultimately hold him accountable for the decision. And I think that's the way that the system ought to work.
But it's not just him. Of course, Matt Genereux resigned within that 48-hour period. Mr. d'Entremont said he believed there are 3 or 4 Conservatives who were willing to cross the floor with him. What is going wrong inside the Conservative Party right now?
Well, look, I appreciate that Mr. d'Entremont has now an interest in creating a little bit more chaos on our side of the House. I would appreciate that if there are others, that Mr. d'Entremont would allow those others to speak for themselves and not put words in anybody's mouths. In terms of Mr. Genereux, I think Mr. Genereux was quite clear in his own public statements. It is actually quite a loss for Parliament as a whole to be losing Mr. Genereux sometime in the spring. He has a great track record and a legacy to be proud of in terms of advancing private members legislation and doing a lot of things to advance the cause of men's mental health. I have not had the opportunity to speak to Matt. I consider him a close friend, but I hope to speak with him when we all return to Ottawa, and of course wish him well, but also, understand the reasons for his departure, which, I think are his to explain.
Mr. Chambers, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in because I really do want to get to the budget here, and I know you do too,
Great.
but I just want to ask you quickly. Mr. d'Entremont said he hopes his former colleagues will forgive him one day. Do you see yourself forgiving Chris d'Entremont?
Look, I don't think anyone, goes through life doing well, holding long-time grudges. To be honest, I hope Chris finds what he's looking for. I believe that we're all sent here to do something. I hope that Chris does not have buyer's remorse. I fear that he might someday, given that we all campaigned on change and looking at the last 10 years and thinking we needed a change in government. So perhaps I'll just leave it there.
On the budget itself, there are a lot of Conservative priorities in there, even if the approach is different. Your party wants new energy projects, improved productivity. The Liberals are even cutting foreign aid, which is something that your party called for as well. Why is there not enough common ground in this to stave off an election?
Well, let's just look at the headline numbers. I mean, I first ran in 2021 because I thought Prime Minister Trudeau was spending too much money. We are now spending more on interest payments on the debt, not just than we do on healthcare, but the GST receipts that the government receives doesn't even cover the amount of money we're spending on interest on the debt. And if we get ourselves into economic uncertainty in forms of a recession, those numbers will increase dramatically. And so I am very concerned that the Prime Minister is putting the country in an unsafe or unstable fiscal position, especially given the uncertainty that we see in the world. And these aren't just my words or Conservative words. These are the words of even Fitch, the rating agency, who said that the government's fiscal position is being eroded and that it can't be confident that the projections will continue the way they are because they have a history of having higher deficits and higher spending than what they promise. So I think that's a primary concern for Conservatives, absolutely, is the level of debt that we're leaving for our next generation. And I think the Prime Minister could have made some additional compromises, certainly on that point. I mean, I recall the 2008-2009 timeframe when I worked in the finance department with Minister Flaherty. It was Prime Minister Harper and Minister Flaherty's responsibility, according to the media then, to make sure that the budget passed, to make sure that there were compromises made. And I'm not sure I've seen that here with this budget. I think instead we've seen the Prime Minister and his members try to lure other floor crossers in order to pass a budget so that they don't have to make any compromises.
We are right out of time, but I would like to understand right now, do you think the government is going to fall over this budget?
Well, look, I understand that they're in some discussions with other parties, and I encourage them to do that, to make the compromises. As I say, we're in a minority parliament. If Elizabeth May, who said she's not currently voting for the budget, finds her way to vote for the budget, I think that is an exercise in compromise. I don't believe that. Look, I think there's a lot of drama around this place in Ottawa, but I think we should keep the focus on compromising, doing the right thing for Canadians. And I don't expect that we'll have an election, but certainly I won't be voting for the budget myself.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time today, Conservative MP Adam Chambers.
Thank you.